He tampered in God's domain. What a line.
It's like a thing of beauty, you know?
Does it tie to anything in the movie? I mean, a tiny bit. It has no business being spoken at this point in the film, but it's fantastic. What a line.
Yep. Honestly, talk about an epitaph one day. I think even though I would not rank this with my favorite Ed Wood movies, that's
Right.
the kind of thing like you could just.
That's what you write on Ed Wood's gravestone.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, right on his tombstone. Edward D. Wood Jr. He tampered in God's domain.
Right. No, that's maybe what I put on David Carradine's headstone, given where he went. But yeah, no, it's what a line. What a line. What a film. I think I ended up enjoying talking about this a lot more than I thought I would, actually. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, like, this conversation is a lot more entertaining than Bride of the Monster itself.
All right. Well, I was about to ask you, what do you think of this film? But yes, I'm getting some closes.
There's a few really boring stretches. In it.
Oh, no doubt.
Like
no
you
doubt.
gotta really be in for the long haul to make it through all 70 minutes of this on its own.
70 minutes. Can I just say how much I miss old movies? It's just like a B movie that's 70 minutes. Like, it's just, we're not I mean, we are talking about how this movie does waste time, and it's probably it should be like a 55-minute movie. But if I'm completely not really engaged in the movie, like, make it 70 minutes, make it 80 minutes. I don't want to see an hour.
Exactly. And I just keep checking my watch, and I'm like, okay, well, we don't have that much longer.
Of all the actors I've seen in multiple films, and I'll say like maybe a minimum of 5, Bela Lugosi has to have the shortest average length movie. Because all those Universal monster movies are 70 minutes. This is 68 minutes or whatever. Well, Son of Frankenstein's like an hour 40, and he is in that.
Yeah.
But so is Karloff, and Karloff, Targets is probably like an hour 40. I've seen some later Karloff movies, the Corman movies, and so it's like, okay, maybe those kind of bump up his average movie length. But yeah, Lugosi gotta be.
Literally the only people I can think, not that I've seen many of these movies, but literally the only other people I could think of would be like the freaking Bowery Boys, where
those kinds of things.
All those B movies for Poverty Row, they were like 50 minutes long. But anyways, yeah, Bride of the Monster, I would say not very good, not as enjoyable as like some of the most hilarious Ed Wood movies, but good Bela Lugosi performance overall, really enjoyable to watch at the very least when he's on screen.
His goofy faces, his great monologue, he's one of the more enjoyable parts for sure.
There are a lot of reasons to watch it, I would say, check it out.
I think that's fair.
I think it's not a good starting place for Ed Wood. If you want to know more about this crazy filmmaker, this is not him at his craziest or at his most entertaining, but it is...
Or at his lowest budget.
Yeah, that too. It's probably the highest budget he ever
at
worked
his
with.
most limited in terms of, I have one shot of Bela Lugosi, and I'm going to pretend Bela Lugosi's in this movie. So here's this guy covering his face with a cape. Like, there's nothing like that in this movie.
When you first read about Ed Wood, that's the kind of stuff you want to see. So you won't get much of that here. But it does have a lot of parts that make it enjoyable. And I definitely put it on over, a lot of, modern movies, modern, action sci-fi movies any day of the week, just for sheer enjoyment and nostalgia factor.
Right, yeah, there's this enjoyment to be had here. I agree, it's not the bad movie, the B movie masterpiece that Plan 9 or The Room or Samurai Cop or, insert bad movie here, Troll 2. Mm-hmm. It's not that. It's an entertaining bad movie. It's an entertaining B movie. You see little glimpses of the complete ineptitude of Ed Wood, but it's a lot of the B movie staples, like the shots not matching, the poor integration of stock footage. It's not the most entertaining thing to see in a bad movie, but when it happens as often and as blatantly as it does here, when it's the entire climax of the movie, it's still pretty fun.
Yeah, the climax of the movie is just, it's worth the price of admission alone just to be completely baffled by. And I think it is interesting that it's not as technically inept or strange as Ed Wood's other movies, and that almost makes it more boring because like it almost the more it feels like a real movie, the more it feels like a normal movie, it starts
and again, I'm only comparing it to Plan 9, but it is definitely more of a normal, like it feels more like a the 50s sci-fi monster movies you'd see. It's just a worse version of that. Plan 9 is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's its own beast completely. But Ed Wood is just in general, like, it's not filled with a bunch of this famous stuff you go to Ed Wood for, but it's
the falling tombstones, all that stuff.
It's pretty fun on its own level. Just fast forward through some of the interminable cop scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the dialogue is funnier and goofier than I remembered because it's been a while since I've seen an Ed Wood movie of any kind.
Yeah.
And again, really, I've only seen the two. Well, maybe a couple other ones I don't really remember. But yeah, that's how I agree with you. It's good. It's you're right. It's not the best. If you want to know who Ed Wood as a filmmaker and if he was the worst filmmaker ever, which I think for a long time that was just accepted as gospel. But
there's
not
so
even
many. True. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jesus Franco, I'd have to mention him. I think I've seen something he was referred to as like the European Ed Wood or something at one point. And I'm like, it's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
There's so many others I'm sure I'm not even aware of.
Exactly. Yeah.
But this isn't the best example of his distinct lack of talents, but it is a solid example.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you're in the mood for, sort of like a goofy old sci-fi movie, you could do a lot worse.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is more entertaining than Robot Monster. Robot Monster is just walking around in the desert in a goofy gorilla suit. That's all that movie is.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that suit does go a long way.
That's true. That suit
it never stops being fascinating, the fact that you're watching
true.
a guy in a gorilla suit with a diving helmet on.
Example.